Herzlich willkommen, liebe Zuschauer, zu Raum und Zeit Studio Talk. Heute geht es um Sucht, um Suchtberatung, und wenn Sie schon oft versucht haben, mit dem Rauchen aufhören zu wollen, oder wenn Sie an keiner Auslage in der Bäckerei vorbeilaufen können, ohne ein Zuckerstückchen mitzunehmen, dann sind Sie genau richtig hier bei uns heute. Wir wollen uns damit beschäftigen, wie Sie diese Süchte loswerden können, und dazu haben wir zwei Gäste eingeladen. Ich darf ganz herzlich begrüßen Herrn Amir Weiss und Herrn Oliver Günzler.
Grüß Sie.
Eine kleine Info noch für unsere Zuschauer. Sie kommen selber aus Israel. Sie sprechen zwar schon sehr gut Deutsch und sind auch schon einige Jahre hier in Deutschland zu Hause, aber wir haben uns entschlossen, dieses Interview in Englisch zu machen, weil für Sie es doch einfacher ist, in Englisch Ihre wichtigen Erkenntnisse zu präsentieren. Und deswegen hoffe ich, dass mein bescheidenes Englisch ausreicht, damit wir das Interview auch in Englisch machen können. So therefore, another time, you're very welcome, Amir. It was very nice to get to know you. And we met before, already yesterday. We had a beautiful dinner last night. And so let me ask you one question. When you came to Germany, or did you ever expect that you someday will come to Germany to live here and to work here?
Absolutely not. I mean, this was not in my plan or thoughts at all. I grew up in a place where Germany was almost out of the spoken. You're not allowed to speak about Germany. I'm coming from parents who are Holocaust survivors, so it wasn't in my plan at all. So I think, if I would think about it now in retrospect, I think there is some kind of a dystonic issue in all this. The mother of my children, she's German. I have two children who are living here in Germany. And I think it's become a love affair already for since 80, so almost whatever it is, 33 years of love affair of in and out. And
so did I get this right? You have a love affair with Germany?
Yes.
Okay, that sounds very interesting. Yeah.
I have a love affair with many things, and one of them is Germany.
Yeah.
It's which I can't really explain it. I think it's a part of my open research that's still going on. Why I'm here and here in Germany. I mean, the big question why I'm here on the planet, it's another big question. But here in Germany is another small equation which I'm still trying to find out what it is that want me to be here. And till now I found it very fascinating. So.
Well, I'd like to hear that a person from Israel is really happy here in Germany and has a love affair with Germany. That sounds very nice to me. That would be a completely different topic.
Absolutely.
I think that would be another issue for another interview. Yes. But we are here basically to talk about your institute, the Weiss-Institut in Coburg, and we want to talk about your work, what you do there. So when did you start your research in this affair, in this topic? When did you get interested in addictions?
Okay. I mean, it's when I was actually thinking about it today, I came to a totally different view, which actually relates to your first question about addiction. Because and I don't know if it will come maybe to the timings, but I think in general, whatever stops us to be free, to be with whatever it is we want to be, or whatever design us to be, I think we get actually addicted to. Because in retrospect, if I'm looking on my father, that had obviously unfortunate experience, and when I came first time to Germany to visit, find out that both of the sides actually wounded from different, you can say on the same bar, but from the same thing. One is feeling hurted and wounded, and the other feeling guilt. And I think partly if I look at it in retrospect, that we all get addicted to certain emotions, thoughts, patterns, and we live in a certain comfortability either as excuse or as a way of life that we don't even realize, but we actually lock in a certain kind of state, whether it's hate, whether it's love, whether it's good or bad. And actually, funnily enough, I wasn't expected to go into addiction at all in my life. It wasn't a theme. But the first time when it all started is, I think, when I was around 25 years old. I met some friends, and I was as well in the university studying earth science and crystallography. I think that's how you say, crystallography, about crystals. And I basically got to started interested in the electromagnetic field, and everything have a radiation. And plus I had many questions before about certain things, and I found some friend who interested in more or less the same issue. And the strange things that we start to experiment between us, mainly about the aura and electromagnetic field around people, plants, crystals, objects, and try to see if we can feel certain things. I mean, the research itself was amazing because it's as well brought us to increase our sensitivity and practice and get a bit more conscious about the fact that everything that actually exists radiate. We talked before, it came about electromagnetic smoke, kind of, you can say the bad things, but everything that exists around us actually radiate in some form or another. This light radiates now a lot of heat, for example. We don't see it, but we can feel it. And this is what we call a coarse electromagnetic. Our body is much finer and actually radiate much finer electricity, whether it could be as well coarse, which can be seen as well in the aura, but it's mainly a very fine energy. So we got interested in it, and then we kind of wonder what the hell we can do with such a thing. I didn't learn medicines, and at that time, the whole idea of alternative medicine wasn't so, at least it didn't cross my mind.
Yes, in the 80s.
Yeah, and I wasn't really clear what we can do with it. And then funnily enough, I think in one of our occasions, there was an article on the newspaper about Shimon Peres, which is now the Israeli president, is 90 years old, who went to Italy actually. He used to be a very heavy smoker, and he met some kind of a guy who used to do he didn't understood what he did, but he came to his chair, he did something, and he came out and he didn't want to smoke.
Okay.
So we came to the idea, I said, look, why don't we start with smokers? Because we didn't want to deal with illnesses. We said, let's see if we can work with it. And to our amazement, the results start to come. Obviously, it didn't start as a business. It was a friendly invitation. We used to go on the street and ask people, would you like to come?
So when I get this straight, you were starting to be interested in certain key questions about life and itself and the existence of everything, and about electromagnetic fields especially, and somehow you came up to solving addictions. So it was basically a coincidence that you worked like this. I can say it's a coincidence and not coincidence, because I believe that every coincidence is not really a coincidence, or whatever we want to term. It's the terms of we're using. As I say, like even me being in Germany, I don't think it's a coincidence, although it's looked like, but maybe all our existence is a coincidence. There are some philosophy, but that's kind of the idea that it wasn't meant to, wasn't even came with the idea to, I can say, even try to help other people. We try to experiment and see what we can do with this amazing system. And that brought you to Germany, and finally today here to our studio. After many years. Can we now define basically the main addictions that we can have in our society? What are the main problems people have when they are addicted? What is smoking, of course, is a big problem for many people. I know it in my family, friends, and so many smokers around. What other problems do the people have when they come to you? I think this is a brilliant question, and it's obviously evolved as my research continue and our work continue together.
And it started, as we say, with smoking, because this was, I think, at the time, the main issue. And a lot of people want to quit smoking, and they suddenly realize, I don't know if you probably know, but in the times when I was a child, everybody smoked. I mean, you went to the cinema, every actor, yes. I don't know, what's his name, Humphrey Bogart, everything, everywhere you went, smoking was an acceptable act in the society.
In planes?
In aeroplanes, restaurants, everything was free. We now can have difficult to imagine how it was before, although still in the aeroplane they have the sign.
I remember in the restaurants, it was disgusting, yeah.
So it's obviously evolved because, as I say before, we started with the smoking, which was the first addiction, and started to understand how this works on the system and what can influence, and mainly, just to say in general, as well with the aura and the electromagnetic field, I'm interested always in the causes of things. What causes things, not so much the symptom. So as well, I'm dealing as well with many other health, trying to find many different solutions for many things. But I'm interested more in the causes. What causes things to the smoking or all the addiction? I can say it's a symptoms. Just to say in general, of a result or a symptom of a certain process going on in us that result in certain acts we're doing, from different acts that we decide to do. But
you're one step ahead right now. I just wanted to know.
I know, I'm a step ahead, but it's to say that with it, so there are many other, the reason why I'm a step ahead, because there is the obvious addiction that we're talking about. There is the smoking, and now it's become very popular as well in the newspaper here in Germany, which I'm dealing with it for over 20 years, which I'm saying sugar is one of the biggest addicted material.
One of the biggest problems also.
One of the biggest problems in the society. All what I call a lot of the refined product that we get. And alcohol obviously is what I can see is one of the biggest one and one of the dangerous ones.
Yes.
We have all the hard drugs that everybody knows.
Alcohol,
which is over the hard drugs, like you can say cocaine, heroin, which are everybody knows a killer. So we have, I mean, the varieties of drugs are actually huge. But that's kind of what we're talking about, the physical aspects, which are very obvious. But there are a lot of certain behaviors, as I said, that we are addicted to. Or maybe we'll go first before we jump to the other step. They even realize that certain, radiation from certain telephones, they're actually addicted to the brain.
One can be addicted to a telephone.
I don't know if you know.
But that would explain the behavior of many youngsters today.
You see, I think you told me a very amazing fact that there are more people who
have access to mobile phones than to clean toilets. It was a UN study I heard in the news.
And it's very addicted. I mean, all the stimulant, and we're talking about stimulant. The world is working about the fact that how much you can stimulate from advertising, TV, movies, how much there is more excitement. And the phones, you get a little machine that actually can do incredible stuff.
Of course.
In one hand. And the dependency, and that's part of what we call Sucht, or addiction, or being Abhängigkeit, or being dependent on. It's all the things that we adopt in our life that we can't do without, as we say. And
by the way, I like the way you express German words. You pronounce them. That's very.
I like it. Like the word Sucht, for example. It's come from suchen. You need to look for something. You
brought us a few articles from famous newspapers. We have really actual issue of the Stern, die Zuckermafia. There's another one, Volksdroge Zucker. It is from 2011, I think, and the other one, Der Spiegel, is from last September 2012. And the funny thing is, I see a change in awareness in the last 10 years. I was always aware of eating in food. I'm a vegan for many years now, so it was a big topic for me already. But what do you think? Why do you think there was a change in the perception of these things? I mean, sugar here is described as really something evil and dangerous. For example, there are some figures I never was aware before. We have a graph, for example, when we see that in China, basically 4% of the people have a body mass index of 30 and over it. Yeah. We in Germany, we have much bigger, nearly 1/4 of the German population is obese. Yeah. And of course we know it already, America has a really, really big problem. But the funny thing is, here in China, nearly no obesity, but if you see the graphs here, that the increase in consumption of sugar in China in the last 10 years increased of 81%. So that means the number here, the small number, will also increase in the next 10, 15, 20 years dramatically. So what do you think about these numbers?
Well, I think it's quite incredible, because it's a whole question, why those, as I told you, I'm interested, why those things actually happen. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, thanks God, there are some places where there is much bigger awareness and people start to be warned. And maybe just to put a little point before, I'm not dealing in our institute, we don't say something is right or wrong. Mm-hmm. And I think I wrote it in a few articles in the raum&zeit that maybe some of the audience maybe had a chance to read. It's all question of quantity and quality and the reason why you use what you use. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. To go back to this number, I would say that it's, I think we're coming, and it's known as well, for example, diabetic is one of the epidemic in the world actually. Big problem, even children, which wasn't before getting diabetic. It's a world that's controlled by the industry and economically, which is we're still part of it and we need to live in it. We need to find the right balances in life. And we need to bring into awareness that certain things, like the cigarette, today you don't have to talk much, and everybody knows that cigarettes are not healthy. Mm-hmm. There was enough, you can say, propaganda and PR to say that this is not a healthy thing. Mm-hmm. Although I must admit that from all the addiction, the cigarette is actually the less damaging, from my experience in the 30 years of treating thousands of people, than the rest of the addicted stuff. But
the public perception is completely different.
I know, and as well the doctor perception is different, and I know it's not pleasant and it's not nice because it involves sometimes other people. You can say sugar, I eat for my own, it doesn't affect other people, although I must say, and from my understanding, and maybe it will come later, that whatever we do, every act, every thought, affect everyone. Although we say it doesn't matter, I say everything is matter. Everything starting from electrical signal and manifesting into a matter. But there is no, it doesn't matter, everything that we do is matter. How we do it and why we're doing it as well have a big influence. So
let's summarize in that way. So we have many different problems or many different products where we can be addicted to, even if it's sugar, if it's alcohol, tobacco, a big variety of that. And you found a way to get rid of these dependencies. And you come from a completely different side, so you have a completely different approach. You go into the electromagnetic field.
Yes.
So what can we think about that, or how do we have to get to this point? I can't imagine right now what you do when you go, when you say you heal people from addictions, if you go into their aura or in their sphere around them.
And maybe to correct a bit terminology, because I'm helping people to get rid from their addiction if they want to. We can enforce, and I don't want to enforce anything upon anyone.
So if a person doesn't want to smoke, doesn't want to stop smoking, it won't help.
I had some occasion that they didn't want and it stopped, but I always assume that there is something in them who want to, or something in the complex who knew, or realize that it's not healthy for them. But part, to go back to the question, that we're helping people who want to get rid from their addiction, or I would like to say more, I like to free people from their own prison. If possible, I like to be free from my own prison as well, whether it's thoughts, patterns, actions. So, the method that we started to develop, and as we started to talk before, was to do with the causes of things and the electromagnetic field. And as I say, we're interested in the causes. And everything that we do, every, as I say, action, started with certain electrical impulse or electrical influence. For example, I don't know if I can use it. I will use Oliver, for example. Oliver, how much you weigh, can I ask?
I think around 72.
70. Can you just stand a second? Brilliant. You see, what's happened now, that I send a signal, say, can you stand up a second? Now, this was electrical signal. You could hear it. His brain can translate it, and his brain turn it into amazing electrical signal, go from the brain to almost every muscle in the body. And I can say in my little sentence, which didn't cause me any effort, I lifted up 70 kilo.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean. And it's to do with everything that we're doing. I mean, we're taking this carcass, this complex, sometimes miles to walk. Yeah, and so what I'm trying to say, that it's all starting with the electrical signal. Whether the reason was conscious or not conscious, I think people start to smoke. I used to smoke in the army as well. Yeah, whether it's because you need some relief or because other people or friends doing it, you want to be acceptable. There are millions of other reasons. I could say today that because of the way of the world, we're actually taking a little bit away, and that's part of the industry, a bit away from how we should be. Because of the stress that maybe Oliver will talk a bit later, or whatever occasion that move us away from the natural energy that our complex was supposed to work in the lower system and as well in the higher system. And therefore we're looking for compensation, or we're looking for ways either to relieve ourselves from this kind of place, or compensate because of lacking of something by using certain drugs. And China become now part of the victim, I think, from the numbers, because they expose themselves to the Western world, because they want to be the richest, whatever they want to be. I don't know exactly, not to go into politics. But the moment you go into the Western world, which a lot of it working on consumption. And if you don't buy stuff, the economic will fall. So we provide us with the work that we will have money so we can use it in product, so it will keep the economic to work. And economic is important, but I believe that God have a best amazing economic system that we still didn't realize. They're more natural than how it should be. We just need to find a way how to go back to there.
So let me use the opportunity now to bring Oliver to the conversation. Und wir haben vorher ausgemacht, dass wir beide in Deutsch sprechen. Das wäre etwas seltsam, wenn wir als Deutschsprachler in Englisch uns unterhalten. Amir versteht uns ja, also von dem her gesehen ist das kein Problem. Ja. Herr Günzler, Sie sind selber Freund und Geschäftspartner von Amir. Wie sind Sie persönlich auf dieses Thema gestoßen? Waren Sie selber auch Teilnehmer in dem Programm?
Auch, aber erst später. Also bei mir ist es auch, meine Geschichte ist dementsprechend auch, ich habe schon von relativ früh Zeiterfahrungen gemacht, dementsprechend so als mit Heilpraktikern und dann auch mit Heilen dementsprechend. Hatte dann das Glück, dass ich selber Heilpraktikerausbildung machen konnte und habe dann in München eine Praxis gehabt und habe da angefangen zu arbeiten und dann, ich glaube 2006 hat Amir bei mir an der Türe geklopft und einfach was erzählt dementsprechend. Er kannte eine Kollegin von mir, sie hat das weiterempfohlen, hat gesagt, geh mal zum Herrn Günzler und sprech mal mit dem, der könnte daran Interesse haben. Wie Sie vorhin sagten, wir haben relativ schnell herausgefunden, dass wir uns sehr sympathisch sind, was, denke ich mal, die erste Grundvoraussetzung war. Und dann hat sich das dementsprechend so eingespielt, dass ich hatte Patienten, die ich dann dementsprechend einfach zum Amir gebracht habe und habe dann mitgekriegt, teilweise, was die Patienten mir zurück erzählt haben, wie es denen erging, was sie für Erfahrungen hatten. Ich muss ganz ehrlich sagen, ich habe interessanterweise auch noch geraucht zu der Zeit und wollte aber ehrlich gesagt nicht aufhören am Anfang, obwohl er behandelt hat und auch Patienten von mir behandelt hat. Ich wollte das einfach noch nicht. Ich war in dem Rahmen einfach, wo ich dachte, nee, das schauen wir mal. Ich habe 2 Jahre noch weiter geraucht, bis irgendwann mal der Punkt kam bei mir, wo ich dachte, jetzt ist es soweit. Und dann habe ich mit dem Amir dementsprechend zusammen, oder er hat die Behandlung gemacht. Und ich weiß, es hört sich komisch an, aber es ist Fakt seitdem, ich denke, ich habe 3 bis 4 Mal noch an Zigaretten gedacht. Und es war 2008, denke ich, habe ich damals die Behandlung gemacht und ich bin in die Behandlung rein. Nach 10 Minuten bin ich raus. Ich habe ungefähr eine halbe bis dreiviertel Schachtel am Tag geraucht. Lustigerweise habe ich aber nie nicht geraucht am Tag. Ich dachte eigentlich immer, ich kann selber.
Gelegenheitsraucher, so, ja.
Weil man nicht so viel raucht oder mal ein bisschen, was auch immer, bis man irgendwann mal merkt, warum rauche ich jeden Tag? Und dann merkt man dann dementsprechend, okay, und dann verarbeitet man. Und dann, wie gesagt, ab dem Zeitpunkt von 2008 haben wir gesagt, okay, jetzt fangen wir wirklich an, auch das Ganze auszubreiten und zu vergrößern. Und dann ich habe Kollegen und wir haben Kollegen dementsprechend noch zusammengearbeitet, ausgebildet. Dann haben wir angefangen in Holland, dementsprechend mit der Weiss-Methode Therapeuten auszubilden. Dann kam England dazu, Irland, glaube ich. Erst Irland, glaube ich, und dann England. Vor 2 Jahren haben wir angefangen, vor 3 Jahren, weiß ich gar nicht, 2, 3 Jahren haben wir in Kanada dementsprechend noch jemand ausgebildet und jetzt erst vor 1,5, 2 Jahren haben wir einen Arzt in Amerika noch ausgebildet, der jetzt angefangen hat, dort auch. Und wie gesagt, die Geschichten, die einfach zurückkamen am Anfang von den Teilnehmern, die die Behandlung gemacht haben, war mir relativ schnell klar, es dreht sich mehr als nur um Rauchentwöhnung. Ich denke, wie vorhin gesagt habe, die Rauchentwöhnung ist ein Teil, aber die Leute, was die zurückgemeldet haben, teilweise auch, wie sie die Behandlung erfahren haben und was teilweise auch mit den Leuten danach passiert ist, weil Rauchen ist, wie gesagt, nur das Symptom. Meistens stecken andere Sachen noch hinter dem Verrauchten, was man so schön sagt. Also da ist ja viel Rauch dementsprechend. Und es klärt sich und säubert sich relativ viel. Und ich habe interessante Rückmeldungen bekommen von Leuten, die dann einfach gesagt haben, wow, da haben sie noch andere Sachen getan. Und von dem Moment war mir relativ klar, dass das was ist, was ich einfach selber gern in meinem Leben einfach auch weiter forschen will. Und ich denke, die Arbeit, der heilerische Bereich mit dem elektromagnetischen Feld ist das, was in Zukunft die Medizin ausmachen wird. Ich denke einfach, das ist der Anfang von dem, wie sich die Medizin in der näheren Zukunft sich einfach zeigen wird. Ich denke, wir sind an einem Punkt, wo einfach auch andere natürliche und heilerische Wege dementsprechend auftun, um mit Krankheiten anders umzugehen und sie einfach ganzheitlicher zu sehen, in einem anderen Bild, den Menschen in einem anderen Bild zu sehen, Krankheiten und wie vorhin gesagt Gewohnheiten in einem anderen Bild zu sehen. Und dann ist es aber auch wichtig, dass man einen anderen Ansatz hat. Ich habe oft das Beispiel, fahren Sie Auto?
Ja, klar.
Genau. Wenn bei Ihnen die Öllampe vorne leuchtet, was machen Sie?
Ja, ich schaue nach, wie viel Öl noch da ist. Ne?
Und in den meisten Fällen ist es so, die meisten versuchen die Öllampe auszuwechseln oder ein Pflaster drauf zu tun.
Dass man die Lampe nicht mehr sieht, ja. Also
was, wie gesagt, ein Weg ist. Jeder kann das versuchen, aber ich denke, das ist genauso beim Rauchen, Zucker, Alkohol, genau das Gleiche. Sie können ein Pflaster draufkleben, eine Spritze kriegen, was auch immer. Sie haben vielleicht entweder kurzfristig, auch längerfristig Erfolg, aber ich denke, das, was dementsprechend das Ganze einfach auslöst und das, was dahinter steckt, ist meistens noch da. Ganz oft, was ich von anderen sehe, ist es meistens eine Verlagerung. Und das habe ich einfach da gesehen, dass da woanders angefangen wird und die Resultate anders sind und nachhaltiger, würde ich sagen.
Es wird einfach Öl nachgeschüttet.
Exakt.
Und nicht an der
da, wo
Lampe,
es,
ja.
wie gesagt, wenn es Öl ist.
Ja,
Oder
okay,
wie gesagt, nee, bei manchen ist es Öl.
Ja.
Nee, bei dem Beispiel ist es Öl. Bei anderen ist es Wasser, bei anderen ist es eine Schraube. Und Sie können nicht mit einem Werkzeug dementsprechend das ganze Auto behandeln. Und ich denke, die Arbeit im elektromagnetischen Feld ist das einfach, was den ganzen Menschen mit einbezieht.
Sie haben ja gesagt, Sie waren selber Teilnehmer in der Behandlung, in dem Programm. Ich würde die Stelle gerne nutzen und noch eine andere Teilnehmerin kurz zu Wort kommen zu lassen.
Gerne.
Wir haben noch eine Teilnehmerin eingeladen und wir haben vor der Sendung eine kleine Aufzeichnung mit ihr gemacht, um von ihren Erfahrungen nochmal zu lernen. Ja. Ich darf die Regie bitten, dass Sie das kurz einspielen jetzt bitte. Ja, hallo Claudia, vielen Dank, dass Sie sich die Zeit genommen haben, um zu uns ins Studio zu kommen. Sie haben selber als Teilnehmer an der Behandlung teilgenommen im Weiss-Institut. Wie sind Sie da eigentlich drauf gekommen?
Ja, also eine Kollegin von mir, die war vor einem Jahr dort und die hat mir das empfohlen.
Mhm. Und was war Ihre eigene Problematik? Hatten Sie ein spezielles Suchtverhalten, mit dem Sie nicht mehr klarkamen?
Ja, schon. Also ich habe seit längerer Zeit ziemlich viel Süßigkeiten und Zucker gegessen und hatte auch so richtige Heißhungerattacken. Also, dass ich ganz plötzlich viel essen musste und das wollte ich einfach nicht mehr. Ich wollte eben selbst entscheiden, wann ich was essen will und einfach nicht mehr so fremdgesteuert sein. Das war mir halt sehr wichtig.
Wie war es dann im Institut selber? Können Sie ein bisschen beschreiben, wie die Behandlung stattgefunden hat, wie da so Ihre Wahrnehmungen waren?
Ja, also die Behandlung war sehr angenehm. Also im Prinzip bin ich nur ganz bequem in einem Stuhl gesessen, musste mich einfach entspannen. Und das ist mir eigentlich auch sehr leicht gefallen, weil die Atmosphäre in dem Raum war sehr friedlich und ruhig. Und das war überhaupt kein Problem irgendwie. Und alles ganz ohne Schmerzen und bei Bewusstsein. Also total locker eigentlich.
Und wie war es dann für Sie? War das dann wirklich so mit einem Schnipser auf einmal weg, dieser Heißhunger, oder hat sich das erst über eine gewisse Zeit entwickeln müssen?
Ja, ich habe mich so eigentlich ein bisschen selbst gewundert, dass ich danach einfach nicht mehr so das Bedürfnis hatte. Also ich bin irgendwie durch die Therapie wie ins Gleichgewicht gekommen und habe danach einfach nicht mehr das Bedürfnis so gehabt wie vorher. Und ja gut, der positive Nebeneffekt war natürlich, dass ich auch ca. 5 Kilo abgenommen hatte. Hat mich auch sehr gefreut. Und ja, aber hauptsächlich eigentlich war es, dass ich selbst entscheiden konnte. Einfach diese Freiheit und Lebensenergie, die ist halt dann danach schon sehr viel wert.
Das war jetzt vor 9 Monaten, haben Sie gesagt. Hat sich seitdem was verändert? Ist es gleich geblieben?
Es ist eigentlich gleich geblieben.
Keine Heißhungerattacken mehr?
Nee, ich hatte seitdem keine mehr. Also ich bekomme zwar häufig von Freunden irgendwie so die Frage, ja, hast du nicht irgendwie Lust? Und da geht dir doch auch ein Stück Lebensqualität weg. Aber so empfinde ich das nicht. Also mir ist eigentlich wichtiger, irgendwie die Freiheit selbst zu entscheiden. Und ich finde, das macht einen irgendwie eher zufrieden.
Wunderbar, vielen Dank und alles Gute für Sie, Claudia.
Vielen Dank.
Ja, das sind wirklich interessante Aussagen. Das fasziniert mich sehr. Ich habe auch noch einen tollen Artikel gefunden in einer lokalen Zeitung, Wow, Leben und Genießen in Bayerisch-Schwaben. Da hat eine Reporterin die Bekanntschaft mit Amir gemacht und sie schreibt selber von sich, dass sie eigentlich keine Esoterikerin ist und den Dingen wirklich, also sie musste innerlich die Augen verdrehen, steht da, aber sie hat seitdem keine Fresshungerattacken mehr gehabt. Sie hat also ihre Schokoladenschublade im Büro nie wieder aufgefüllt, hat jetzt ohne einen einzigen, wie soll ich sagen, ohne das Gefühl zu haben, sie vermisst etwas, hat sie 12 Kilogramm abgenommen, raus aus der Zuckerfalle. So, das ist natürlich dann wirklich eine ganz erstaunliche Aussage, weil das natürlich viele Leute interessiert. Und kommen wir zum Punkt, kommen wir zum Eigentlichen. Ja? We're always talking around this special stuff. So, electromagnetic field is the main topic. You're influencing people in their aura, how you approach the person. Is it you make an analysis of the person itself, or you just go and feel with it and then you trigger a certain point? How you go there?
Just to say that we first starting with, when we invite people for the treatment, we first starting with a conversation, and we explain to people what can happen, what happened during the treatment, and what they can expect to happen after the treatment. And then they coming one by one into the private, personal treatment. Now, I would say in the last probably 7 years, 8 years, I treated over 10,000 people. And I would say that each treatment is a different treatment. So there is, the analysis is very difficult. There is no, you can say, we have a method how we're doing it, but it's what I'm trying to explain, that every person is a universal experience on its own. So we feel, we assess, but we mainly, and maybe to make as well again another little correction, that we are not healing the people. I'm not influence the people. Yeah, our work mainly is how we make ourselves available, and we make contact with certain essences, powers that can help the people in those issues. And we help to cleanse certain patterns of things that shouldn't be there in the person electromagnetic field, which are mainly the causes where it's happen. And just to say, the aura have many different levels in it, the electromagnetic field. We're talking about the aura. Mainly it's about radiating around this kind of level or distance, and difficult to imagine, but it's 360 degrees. We're actually living like inside the egg. Yeah, we don't feel it, but a lot of people feel there is a certain distances. When you come close to certain thing, you feel, oops, I don't know if it happened to you. You can walk in a corridor, and if we train ourselves even with eyes closed, before we get into the door and object, we kind of stop, and sometimes it could be in different distance.
So what dimensions are we talking about when we have the electromagnetic field? Is it 1 meter, 2 meters, 10 meters around us?
That's a brilliant question, and can be another program. But in general, what we're talking, the normal and how it should be, it's about 3 meters, or like 1.5 meter from each side.
Okay.
Our hands distance. Unfortunately, because of the way of the life, with most people, it's much, much smaller. Yeah.
So the aura decreases in our society?
Sure. It's not only decreases.
Organism, it's something living. So.
It's a very live organism according to our process.
And
it's increasing.
Influenced by these addictive materials, sugar, alcohol, cocaine?
Partly. But firstly, it's actually get influenced by how we think and how we feel. There are different systems in the body, from our instinct to our emotional to our thinking center, sexual center. This actually makes the main influence. Now, what's happened with our addictive stuff? Sugar, for example, or all the stimulant, they're increasing certain patterns in ourselves. Like if you eat sugar, you feel like more energized, you feel more electrical, and then there is a drop. It starts to influence different organs in the body. The radiation in the complex change, of course, and as well in the aura. As I said, we have 3 levels in the aura. The first level in the aura actually reflects the radiation of our inner processes, the physical, you can say more. The second level more our patterns, which is more the blood one. The third level is more describe the nerve, our nerve lives. And the edge is what we call the auric sheet, or a parallel to what I wrote in the article about the Akashic record, where all our records of our life actually sitting there, including the coding of why we're supposed to do and what we are, the reason why we are here on this planet. So our job is not actually to influence as such my influence on people, but to help people or bring the people more close to how they should be. So by this, when the people are more balanced and more in the right place in themselves, the consumption of other stimulant from outside get much lesser, and with a lot of people disappear. So the idea is to bring the people into a natural balance, and by this to cause the body to connect it to the normal natural energy that we were supposed to be connected from the first place. So it's not such as I influence or I cause people to stop, but it's a whole idea of bringing the people or the human of how it should be. Because part of our principle, the main principle of our institute, is the first principle as well of medicine, which is saying, do no harm. First, do no harm. So our job is to help to other people, not to tell people what they need to do or shouldn't do, but if they feel they are locked or have problems, is to help them how to come to the natural balance in themselves. So this is, I would say at this point, of course, the whole thing, what's happening in the aura and how to connect. Part of what we're doing, we're creating a very special ecology in the room that is very clean. Because I think partly I wrote in the articles, all those addicted materials, especially for example alcohol, one of the things that is doing, it's anesthetizes the skin, which our first level, you can say, of our sensitivity and openness to the rest of the world and the aura. And what is happening is the people come open to a different influence. A person can become open to a very low grade, I can say, of influence. That's why you can say people who are drunk, they can either very happy, and it's all depending on the ecology, or they can be very rude or violent sometimes. But the idea is to create ecology that when people are staying there, that it's a very clean ecology. It's pure, it's clean, and the main idea is how to protect or be ourselves in such a circumstance that we can be a clean channel to whatever wants to help the people. So our job, and this is why I say my job is a life work, it's a daily work, is how to become a better channel, a better conduit, a better tube to higher influence that want to help the human race here. And we're dealing it, or we're doing it through this addiction with people. So.
I have so much more questions now, but the one thing which is going on through my mind right now is so many people I know use drugs, alcohol, sugar, and even hard drugs sometimes, you know, this is life. But why is it so that some people are easily getting addicted and really have trouble, physical or mental problems afterwards, and others not? They take substances for a year and just stop by it. What is happening there? Why are people so dependent and some not?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a question that still even bothers me sometimes. Yeah. Because I can see that everyone is different, obviously, and everybody have different dosages of. And I think every person, I could say, have a different, you can say, measure when they can actually go into the limits. You know, when we're doing blood test, you get a limit, and you can be in certain, there is a certain range where we can operate. Certain people, if they operate too much out of the limit, that can become critical. And a lot of the things, the addictive material, they're actually throwing us out of our natural limit. If we use them not wrongly, in too much quantity, it can take us out of the limit. And the moment we move out of our natural limit, and everybody have a different limit, that's where we can become addicted. And you have difficulty to go back to this range. It's like when when the tank, Oliver mentioned the car analogy, but in the car, you know, there is a certain point. If you can drive without a fuel, almost always a little bit of a fuel, but if you go too much, as well, all the dirt from the inside coming in, and then the motor actually stop. So certain people have more awareness that they can fill up the tank before and not to get to reach to this point. Some people, and part of those addictive material, that's why they're addictive, they're causing you actually to consume more and to go outside of your limit. partly, we say there are people what we call adrenal addicted, those who like the danger part. And it's the same. Part of what those addictions material doing, they're actually increasing partly the adrenal hormones in our blood, and we feel kick, we feel high, we feel with it, but then there is the drop, and it's actually now your limit. I would say in general that partly because of the way of the life today, we lost a bit the way of why we are here and what the reason, what the purpose, what can be done here, us as a human, and we get swamped by different things, most people doing things that they don't love to do in their life, and that can throw them as well, and it's a whole circle of many, many things, so it's difficult to answer in one answer, so I go a little bit around, but it's a fascinating question by itself. I say learn your limits, know what you can do and what not. If you can control certain things, fine, but certain things have their own influence. If you know how they influence, some of them don't use them, because the influence is actually very, very strong, even beyond sometimes our capacity, which is interesting why a lot of them, the addictive material, actually white, which is as well my name. I know Weiss, but I come from a different bars of them, maybe.
Sugar.
The sugar, heroin, all the refined things. Alcohol, for example, it's even more refined. That's why it's more danger. It's a refined sugar. It's the same formula as sugar. But they have such a potency to the body that the body are not actually was designed to deal with such a potency of chemicals. And we moved away from this limit that the body can take, and that's where it's become its own dependency, because the brain doesn't know any limits. So the more you give him all this stuff, he wants more. This is where the excitement, stimulants, new iPhone, new material, new machinery. It doesn't, the brain is the biggest consumption, by the way, of sugar as well, naturally in the body. But it doesn't have no limit. The capacity of the brain.
And it's a big electromagnetic motor.
It is.
Which brings me back to the main reason we were talking here. You wrote many articles, several articles in the Raum und Zeit magazine. And I was reading one of these articles where you mentioned a few things about how long can you live without certain things. For example, food, maximum 45 to 60 days, then people are starving. Water, it's about maybe 10 days. Some survivors of earthquakes survived 10 days in the rubble or so.
Not with Coca-Cola, water on.
Only water. And the third one is air. Everybody knows if some people are from an avalanche under the snow, 5 to 7 minutes, then it's going to be critical. And now the funny thing is, or the interesting thing is, you wrote, without electromagnetic impulses, we die in between 2 or 4 seconds. So can you a little bit elaborate on that thought?
I think this is a fascinating thing that missed a lot in the way we live, because we mainly know, obviously, about air. You go under the water as well. You try to hold your breath, and the electrical impulse is basically, you can say everything that we see, everything, all our life that we don't even notice, every color, every light, even sitting on this chair, the red color, have an electrical impulse up to our complex, have an influence, whether we, obviously it's plastic and you can say it's have a very small influence, but the color itself have its electrical impulse. If you go to the dictionary, you don't find any definition what is really color, by the way, which is interesting by itself. But everything that we actually experience all our life is working on electrical impulses. Our brain, when it's now in the medical, when the heart stops, they connect us to this machine with 22 volts and put into the system to try to awake, because all this one is work as electrical signal coming directly from God through the planet into us to keep us alive. Without it, we are dead. Our brain totally work, if they want to measure your brain, they measure it with electrical signals. So in a way, the science know about it, but somehow it's been ignored. And all our thinking, most of our actually activity, as we sit here even and talk, is electrical activity. Everything I say have an influence in your way. You translate and you think about the question. I'm thinking about the answer or whatever process is going on. It's going on in us non-stop, 24 hours, whether we're awake or asleep. Yeah, breathing as well. Only drinking and food, for example. When we are asleep, we don't need to use them, right? So it's already moved us to the more important stuff that without air and impressions, all the dreams. We talk with someone. She say, I had a dream sleep, yeah, or all our dream is part of electrical signal. It's, by the way, partly or one level of the dreams we have is electrical signals that the brain, like you go to the toilet to do pee and kaki, the brain needs to go as well, and is doing it during the sleep. So partly the dreams could be, a release of the brain of unnecessary signals that put in different form and pictures. There are different levels of dreams. There are as well very high dreams, connected dreams. But that's kind of how I would say at the moment that all our life and existence actually, I think the Greek or someone described the electric and magnetic as the two helix of life, the two sep that without them nothing actually exists, and we know it even from atom. Basic physics show us that everything is working, everything that we touch all around us is the forces of electric and magnetic power. And I think one of the picture I brought, which is to do with we talked as well before, maybe the Van Allen belts, the electromagnetic field around the planet.
You brought some pictures, we have them here. Oh,
yeah.
we can see it here now.
Yeah, which we now was discovered, I think, got the knowledge from you in 1958 by a scientist called Van Allen, which is described as the blue one, and but as well the outer and the inner magnetic field, as I described, the human have a very similar. We know everybody read the biblical saying, the human is designed or created in the image of God. Everything worked the same in the universe. We are actually higher maybe being here on the planet, but as long as we live in this dark place of the universe, we have to wear the forms as the planet have, and that's partly how we get our aura is we entitled by the planet, and we get our electromagnetic field. And
you brought us some other pictures, especially from the work in the Institute itself, which is perfect for my next question I had, how you work there. Maybe you can see the pictures, vielleicht könnt ihr das noch kurz einspielen. Die Bilder, wo wir sehen, wie die Behandlung selber stattfindet. On the left side we see also a kind of special treatment, a bit ancient one. So is it a bit similar, what we see here?
Absolutely. Even they say, I don't know if you can see the crave on the stone, you can see it on the side. They even describe his aura.
Line.
Yeah. Maybe to say something small shortly about Egypt, very, very short, because it's a whole interview by itself. Egypt is a fascinating subject on its own, especially what we call the pre-Egypt, or the they've been being, we talked I think yesterday came about extraterrestrial being. There are beings in the universe who are here to help for the human race. Part of the big print of everything we're doing actually in the astral light is put by the Egyptians. For good and some not so good things, because things went wrong there as well. They disappear out of the planet as well, which is, there are no skeleton, there are no, except of the more recent Egypt, not the pre-Egypt before. And not to go into it, it's very similar. Energies. The Egyptian was expert in universal travel. And you don't find any electricity, but they actually used to charge crystal with energy, and this is how they use electricity, by human energy. And I still believe that our human energy is the most highest, purest, that can generate As I say, we can take 70 kilo for 70 years, walking for thousands of kilometers. We can as well generate pure electricity with no damage, with not using the source of the planet. But I think it's very similar. It's, connecting to what's happening in Egypt was an incredible culture that had, I think, they used to call them savages, but they had much more concern about living with ecology. Everything that they did was a mental, electrical influence, including healing. And the healing actually came later because certain things start to get wrong there. Yeah. Hopefully healing, if everything go right, it doesn't need.
Absolutely fascinating, and it's more talks we have about this. We need 3 talks for that one. But just to summarize, when you talk about the work in your institute, so when people have these form of addictions, when they feel they have problems, when they can't cope with it by themselves, how do they approach you? They give you an email, they call you, they show up in the institute, you make an appointment. How does it work when people want to have real physical treatment?
Okay, the way it works, I either send an email, best if they will send some more info of how to contact them, telephone. We have in our office ladies who calling to those people and explain them if they want some more info, and they make an appointment. It's either email, telephones, website. We have a very nice website. We hope to improve it a bit, but so there are many ways to contact. It's best to do it through. We prefer the people who make appointment first, because it's. Our life is arranged.
Yeah, of course. Okay.
We have few clinics as well in Germany. And
where is your headquarters?
Our headquarters is sitting in the Oberpfalz, which is at the moment. We used to have it in Munich.
City in Coburg?
It's not in Oberfisch.
North from Regensburg.
Yeah, it's north from Regensburg.
Okay.
Winklan. It's a small area. Just a beautiful area, by the way, for all those who interested.
But it's worth the visit,
Very worth to visit. I think it's one of the clean parts I feel in Germany, that it has a bit magnetic slowing down effect rather than the busy. And we have a clinic in the Westerwald, we have a clinic in the north, we have a beautiful clinic in Berlin, which all of those just become operative in the last few months. So we want to give as more services as we can. It's obviously, it's a slow grow, but hopefully we can serve more people all over, with more places, but that's what we can offer at the moment.
Hopefully we can contribute to that, to your work. That was the main reason for the interview. Okay. I thank you very much. Amir,
thank you very much.
Oliver, thank you very much that you participated here also and shared your experiences. Good luck for you for the future. Hopefully maybe we see us together in 5 years and we will see how things developed. And thank you very much.
Hopefully before, but without problems. But we will be happy to. Thank you very much.
Shalom Havarim.
Shalom, Thank you. Vielen Dank.
Ja, und liebe Zuschauer, wenn Sie sich noch näher informieren wollen oder wenn Sie selber gleich persönlich Kontakt aufnehmen wollen, dann unter www.weiss-institut.de finden Sie alles, was Sie brauchen, Kontaktmöglichkeiten, E-Mail-Adresse und an dieser Stelle natürlich auch ein Hinweis in eigener Sache. Klicken Sie auch unbedingt auf www.raum&zeit.tv. Sie landen dann nämlich automatisch in der Raum und Zeit Mediathek mit vielen weiteren Sendungen und spannenden Themen. Und wenn Sie dann schon einmal bei uns auf der Seite sind, dann klicken Sie auch unbedingt auf www.raum-und-zeit.com. Da sind Sie dann in der Bibliothek und können auch kostenlos Online-Magazine anschauen. Oder Sie bestellen sich einfach gratis ein Probeheft und haben Raum und Zeit selber auch mal physisch in der Hand. An dieser Stelle sage ich vielen Dank für Ihre Aufmerksamkeit. Ich sage alles Gute, bis zum nächsten Mal bei Raum und Zeit im Studiotalk.